Now I am going to move into actually taking the content and doing something with it, making something happen in this content area. So the first thing I'm going to be thinking about is the color of my boxes that I want to create. I don't want them to have any lines or any outlines, but I do want them to have a fill. And I think it would probably be easiest if I do something initially here with just a gray color. And I'll come somewhere in the middle here, make about a 50% gray color. There it is, 50% gray color. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in what I think is going to be the area I want to be placing in for my logo. Now, as I have given this some margin here from the edge, I'm actually going to move it over and pull this to this line. So my logo is going to exist taking up this space. And whether or not it actually sits at the top, this is a zone. I'm creating a zone where the logo is going to live. That's really the main point of what I'm trying to do here. And then I'm going to just guess at a few of the other parts. I probably want some kind of a graphical separator or maybe a color change here at this line. This is just to indicate separation from the header portion of the page and the body portion of the page. This is the header, and everything below it is the body. Next, I want to create some spaces where I might want to have important links. So again, I'm going to use just a rectangle to show that these are going to be some text links, and I'm going to float those in the middle of some of these columns. So I have 1, 2, and if I did that accurately, which I might not have, but I'm going to try and see anyway, I could go Command D, and there's 3, and now there's 4 topics, and now there's 5 topics. Okay? With me? How am I doing? Good? Fair? Slower? Should I go slower? Okay. So now maybe over here what I really want is one more thing, but what I want this one more thing to be is that what they call the sandwich logo, the sandwich icon. So I'm going to have 1, 2, and then Command D. So that indicates a pop-down menu. I could have that. Right? If I have less of these, clearly I can take one out. I can move these over with the arrow keys on my keyboard. Right? So that's the top of my navigation. If I feel it necessary to differentiate some of these colors of gray, I can always go back in here and and I'm going to color that pressing the I button. The I key on my keyboard gives me the eyedrop tool, and I'm clicking to bring this gray color in. Move this down a bit. And now I'm going to show you some things that I really haven't spent much time telling you at all, and it's now time. Okay, you ready? This is very exciting. You guys are doing great. Keep awake. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to create a shape that is basically just a semicircle that's cut at the exact point of the bottom of this rectangle. So here's what I'm going to do. Hang with me here. I'm just making that a little flatter. All right, great. So now I'm going to go to a menu. I haven't put a lot of time into teaching you yet, but it's called the Pathfinder panel. Right? Pathfinder is our friend. I'm going to close these other panels up. And I'm going to copy Command C, this gray bottom rectangle, and I'm going to click on the top oval, and I'm going to paste Command F, and I've pasted it in front, Command F, or front. Still using my regular selection tool, I'll hold the Shift key and select the circle that I want to make a semicircle of instead, not instead, of. I'm just trying to say the word of, And what I want to do here is I want to do since the way these are overlapped, I'm not getting my tooltips here, but I'm basically going to break this into different parts. So there's a couple of choices that I could use here. This one is minus front. Well, that's not really what I want to do. This next one here is, I believe, the one I want. It's going to break these up into 3 different pieces. Now, it doesn't look like anything happened, but it did. I clicked this button right there. I clicked it. It's called Unite, and that's not really Unite. This is what I think I have just clicked. That is not called Unite. It's called something else. It's supposed to be showing me that. Okay, I'm going to click away here. And what you'll see is if I use the regular selection tool, I would not select the pieces, but I would select still this whole thing kind of as a weird group. You see that? So I'm going to put it back where it was. If I use the white arrow or the direct selection tool, this is a piece and I can delete it, and there's another piece right there. And I can change that to the color I need it to be. So it's clean. That's really the main thing. It's just a nice way of making a cut easily.
What drop down was that an object when you found the Pathfinder?
So the Pathfinder was under Window, Pathfinder. Okay. Do you guys find the tutorials that I'm making helping? Yeah? Okay, good. Right, so now I deleted the extra piece that was right there, and I'm going to copy this piece, Command C, and paste it, Command F. It's pasted directly in front. R is for rotate, and I'm going to click and rotate this around, holding the Shift key so it rotates 90 degrees, and moving it up with the arrow keys on my keyboard, just so this looks a little bit like something designed there. You know, this maybe has something to do with the company. It's just not a plain something. I might even consider putting in a slider arrow or the slider dots, meaning, and you don't have to do this, these are just ideas. If I wanted to do the slider dots, what I mean is for a slideshow or a slider dots, maybe I want to have one. This is a little slider dot there. It's kind of large, but I'm not really worried about that. And then I want to have 3 more of these to indicate that there's a total of 4 images in the slider. So I'll go 1, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball that, 2, and then Command D twice, 3, 4. I know those are equidistantly spaced because I did it with Command D. And I can also place right on the middle here, right there, and center those dots. Okay. So there's my slider dots. I don't care that they're really large. I think they're kind of cool. And I could even use a piece of type if I want to. I'm going to go to the text tool and click down here and use the left or lesser than caret mark and increase the size of that. I'm going to increase the size of that to something large, like 60. Okay, it's big. That's great. I like it big. And I'm going to make it white. So this is hanging out here, are the little click arrows that I could use, right? And I can do this also if I just want this to be a shape and not be the lesser than or the left bracket. I can do this type and create outlines. So now that's vector artwork and is no longer text. Type, create outlines. I will show you another thing you might want to know in Illustrator. This is called the Reflect tool. The Reflect tool, I'm clicking it, there it is, and I'm going to reflect this. Interestingly enough, please watch, I picked this Reflect tool, and what this does is whatever is selected is alive or active, and I'm going to click 2 times, once at the top and then another one, making something for it to reflect over, and it's going to make a reflection exactly over the center of this document, and I'll copy it at the same time. So with the Reflect tool, this is it. It lives here with the Rotate tool, Reflect tool. I'm going to click 1 time in the center, on the center guide. And then I'm going to come down lower and I'm going to press Option Shift and click on that same spot. The Option and the Shift. The Option makes a copy and the Shift keeps my clicking vertically aligned at a 90-degree angle. So, boom, there's the two of the situations there. Okay. All right. And, you know, one might decide after the fact they want this whole chunk to be bigger. So if I selected this whole chunk, trying to show you some, you know, normal processes that I do, and group it. Now I have a group. Now it's a group. I could ostensibly come into the halfway. I don't want it all the way to the edge. Let's say if I did, I could do that too. I'll make it to the edge. What the heck? There. Now I'm going to bring the slider and the arrows and everything all the way to the edge of my web page, and everything is still centered nicely. Okay? It's an indication. These are not necessarily the size of the dots I'm going to make. I could make them smaller. This is a wireframe. It's an indication. Okay? All right, next we'll talk about some other content that might be in here, such as some feature content. Maybe the feature content is a headline. Okay, and again, I'm going to pick a gray from here. And then another headline that might go here. And then I'll do that again, Command D. And then, right? So that is probably not going to be the best placement for those. So if I want to really have 4 headers or 4 headlines, I might want to then move this back, again, keeping in, oh, what did I do there? Keeping in mind that my grid is 12, and I can use half. You can make it into a 24 column grid, but I can legally, in the world of grid designing, put that sort of halfway. See how the center mark of all 4 of them that are all selected now kind of hits right here on the center mark here? That's how I'm guesstimating where everything is going to be. And maybe I might want it up higher, so I'm selecting them all and holding the Shift key. Hey, I got your note. Good to see you. And we are talking about how to build a wireframe in Adobe Illustrator. And there we go. There is now the first part of that. Now, all of these may not be exactly the same height, but in this case, I am going to make them the same height. So I'll create the box. Let's say that represents the photo that will be in there, and again I'm going to pick a different gray for that just because I like the way it looks. And then I think I will take this, what I had for the headline, and make it thinner. So I'm dragging it up, and then Shift, Option, drag, Command D, Command D. So now I have thumbnail with header and text, and I can just go ahead and line these up right under using my smart guides and Option and Shift, getting these dropped right down where I want them. Okay, so if we go back and we had a quick look at some of our wireframes, you can see I'm kind of circling in on it like a buzzard. You know, I'm showing you where these pieces or parts might be and how you might look at creating your own wireframe. And what you're going to see a lot of times in wireframes, Gesundheit, is you'll see a lot of like either this is much more of a loose style with Greeking and dots and different things to separate things, or little sketches inside, but a lot of times you're going to see this, which is an X inside of a box to indicate an image, or in this case you see it actually says header here. You could do that. It's a totally legal thing to do. And in a lot of these other ones, you'll see like there's actually text written describing what those elements are. It really depends on the style of the designer, and I think it's really worth it for you to look at some of these wireframes and get an idea of how the artist or the designer proceeded in their creation. Look at what works for you and analyze why it works and why you might want to do it. So if I came back after looking at that wireframe and I was like, yeah, I like my design, but I feel like these boxes could actually be looking better. So I want to do what? I want to make them all wider, all right? So I'm going to get rid of some of these, actually 3 of them, okay? And instead what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Option drag and have them just have the barest little margin in between them. I still only want 4 though, but I want to make them bigger. So I'm going to make 2 more, Command D, right? And then I'll select them all and pull this over to that same place. All right, starting to make sense? Ooh, ah. Okay. Next, I might want to have another separator, like that. So I can bring the separator down, if I so choose. And maybe I want something that is a little more asymmetrical. So over here, I'm going to put another block underneath this one, holding the Option key to make that a copy. Lining it up right on this line here. So as long as the spacing is equidistant and filling the grid with some alignment, this looks a little weird though, right? Because this is not aligned to that. But it won't look so weird in a second when I decide to line it up with at. Okay? So not everything that you make has to be exactly aligned to something else, but it has to have a logical alignment to the grid. Does that seem fair? Okay. And then the last thing, I'm just going to do a couple more things here. Last things are, I'm going to go to the artboard. That's the artboard selector right there. And I'm going to increase the height of my artboard. Really, I am. I'm going to press escape and try that again. I have an extra artboard. Don't want that artboard. Delete it. Try to really grab this on the handle this time. I have it. No, I do not. Flailing gracefully here. One more time. Artboard. Click. Let's try it from this corner here. Just bring it straight down. So I'm going to increase the height of the artboard to there. Right, so now I've increased the height of my web page. Everything looks good. It looks a little weird that this gray is the same. There, that's better now. Ooh, it's looking so sharp. And now maybe I want over here this just to be beautiful illustration. And so I'll drop this box and line it up with the top. And I will tuck this one in so it aligns with the column above it, right? And bring this down. And again, if you wanted to use that idea of putting an X inside something, you can try that. I am going to just show you how to do that real quick here. I'm actually going to make this just the lighter gray version. So here's a lighter gray. And just simply using the line tool is a fine way to go with this. So here I'll place one line here, and the line does not have any color. So I better give it a color. So there is black for the line. And I think the line is going to be too thin at one point, so I'm going to make it 3 points. And I said black, but I picked white, and now I'm picking black. Okay? And the same thing here. I still have the line tool, so I'll just draw the other part of the X. And you could just take a look. Well, do I want X's up here? Yes, no. That's going to be your call. Okay? I don't require you to do it any one specific way. I do require you, however, to really be thinking about what it is that you're designing and why.
Can you show us how to do it with the pen tool?
Sure. If I wanted to do it with the pen tool, here's my pen. Here's my regular old pen tool. Click once and drag and click again. And again, I better check what my color is. I have a fill of gray and a stroke of none. Now, the trick to getting out of the pen tool, see, I'm in the pen tool, and I want to leave. Is if you press V, that's the move tool, and it tells the pen to stop drawing. Then you can click on the line itself. Let's see if I actually have it selected. It's light gray. I'm going to flip it. So now it's truly a line of light gray, not a fill of light gray. And then now it's the 3-point line. And now the next one I draw with the pen tool, click, click, and the letter V to stop drawing. And that is how you do that. The letter V changes the pen into the move tool and such. Makes it stop drawing. Right, so that looks kind of sharp. I kind of like the light gray ones on there, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. The very last part of this is I might want to put in a footer. So again, I'm option dragging one of my boxes. And I know this is going to take up the entire bottom of the page, so I'm going to press the Option key and expand this stuff to here. And then maybe I might want to put in rectangles of what am I doing? I'm going to make social media icons here. I'll put I for eyedrop, and there's 1. And let's say 2, 3, 4. And then maybe I want to indicate some more link text. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to take these 4 links from the top, holding the Shift key, clicking once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Hold the Option key, bring this down. I'm going to line it with the center guide. There. I'm going to change the color. I for eyedrop, pick this lighter gray. It is behind everything. I know I've just changed the color and I cannot see this work. So I'm going to cut it, Command X, select all, Command A, and paste it in front, Command F. And that is how you make a wireframe in Illustrator. Okay, so that tutorial is done. And I promise you guys a couple other things I'm going to still do tonight. So I'm going to stop the recording on this unless someone has a very important question they need to ask how I did something or how you might want to do something over. Everyone?
How would you continue the guide?
If I want to continue the guides, I'm going to have to go to the guide layer, right? And probably what I might want to do is actually lock the content layer. So now I've locked the content layer and I've expanded the guides layer. And I can go to View, Guides, and unlock the guides by choosing Lock Guides. That'll unlock them. And then if I use the Direct Selection tool, because I've been so smart and separated these, right, making sure my guides are on their own layer, I can then use the Direct Selection tool to click and drag a box over the bottom tips of the guidelines and holding the Shift key and the down arrow. I'm pressing the down arrow multiple times, holding the Shift key, and now I can see there are my guidelines. And another way that you could lock them is actually just locking this layer. And now I could unlock the work layer. And anything else I need to adjust, I could adjust from here. If I decide, let's say, since the work layer is actually unlocked, that I want to put these 4 icons really more inside of the grid lines, like that, I can move them. Maybe I would just want to move this one over to here. Excellent question, Angela. Thank you for asking that. Any others?
Sorry. Go ahead. Just show me again the reflect tool.
How to use the reflect tool. So let's say I wanted to take these 4 items, these 4 links, and I want to have 8 of them. So I'm moving them over to here, right? I've moved them over. Now I'm going to go to, these are all selected. I'm going to go to the reflect tool, which lives with the rotate. There it is. And I'm going to click, because I want them to go this way. So I'm going to click above, and then hold the Shift key and the Option key to make the copy. And click. And that, well, the Shift makes sure it goes straight across, and the Option key makes the copy. If I just wanted to reflect them, I don't need the Option key. I could just click and hold the Shift key. That makes sure that it reflects perfectly on a 90-degree angle. And now they're flipped, just flipped, not copied. If I wanted to flip and copy them again, I would click, and then here I can hold the Shift and Option and click again. If I wanted another set above these, okay, I'll click, I'll hold the Option key and click again, hold the Shift and Option key, and now they're above. Because I went on a horizontal reflect, it goes this way. So now I have a whole bunch of little things there that might be important to my company. All right. Just another little mention here while we're at it. I'm going to zoom in. It looks like my spacing is pretty close. Just in case you were wondering, because we took a very brief look at this, these little circles on these corners are to make curved cornered rectangles. This is what I just did. I clicked on this circle and I kind of dragged down and to the right. You can actually make it very curved or less curved. But if I made one curved, I would probably want to use that same amount of curvature on all of these. So again, Option, Shift, drag, Command D, Command D. And now I have my handsome, beautiful wireframe. Any other questions on the wireframing? Yes, Faith.
Not on the wireframing, just on the basics of Illustrator.
Sure.
I'm having trouble doing that thing where you scale up, but you anchor it in place and
Sure.
scale in the opposite direction.
Okay, that's a great question.
Also, how do you make a triangle?
Okay, so let's do those things in a separate file. I'm going to just stop this for now. Unless there's any questions about the wireframe. Okay, so the wireframe is done, yeah? You have the tutorial. It'll go up there tonight or tomorrow morning.